Even when you're on the therapy, knowing you need it, you could still be worried. I know a lot of guys who are very worried about this and they still use it knowing that, thinking they might be at risk and they have no idea. I think What's up guys, Derek, moreplates.com. Today we're going to be talking about testosterone replacement therapy, TRT, and the risks. This is something that obviously is a concern for a lot of individuals who are on testosterone. Not just, super physiological dosages. Guys on TRT, you have to keep in mind, when you're not functioning with a diurnal rhythm of endogenous testosterone secretion, you are basically redlining your system a little bit. You are chronically maintaining a stable level of super high, depending on, how much you're pushing your TRT. Most people are going to push it, to high normal, high perpetual androgenic signaling, which may put your body in an increased state of sympathetic drive, perpetually may cause, androgenic signaling and exposure in your brain, in your heart, in your other organ systems, all perpetually around the clock without a break or a dip like you would normally get with your classical endogenous diurnal rhythm pulsatile secretions that you otherwise would function with as a natural. And again, binding protein production gets driven down a little bit too when you're using exogenous testosterone in reasonable dosages. You're going to have a lower SHBG in general when you're on exogenous TRT, especially at the dosages most guys are using TRT at. And the way they're administering it with the relatively infrequent administrations, driving SHBG a little bit down, for some guys borderline into the ground, and raising their free testosterone levels disproportionately to that of essentially super physiological territory. So they're walking around with, like 600, 700, 800 totals and then disproportionately high frees, and they're maintaining this level like perpetually around the clock. Now, is something like that, obviously that's a situation many of us actually fall into exactly, and it sounds concerning. If I'm having, my heart exposed to this chronic bleed of free androgen for years, this is something I'm going to be doing my entire life. Is that something that's going to put my heart at increased risk? Now, again, obviously I've talked about many times the sort of ancillaries and kind of mitigation strategies we may deploy to try and stay as safe as possible and mitigate, left ventricular hypertrophy or some of these issues that may come as a result of, heightened androgen exposure, increased blood pressure, the deployment of a good angiotensin receptor blocker like telmisartan, something that I do regardless of the fact that I'm only using TRT. This is something that I will be using unless I see a reason to stop it forever, probably. This is something that I see as a huge fucking, it's unfortunate that bodybuilders from the, 90s, early 2000s, and even now are unaware of, because you've seen in some of the literature, very fucking considerable differences in cardiovascular, kidney health, etc., health outcomes when these things are deployed prophylactically, even at reasonable dosages that are so benign and innocuous that you're essentially side effect free for the majority of individuals. And even at mega dosages, even in some of the rodent models exposing rats to mega fucking doses of nandrolone and shit like that, we've seen complete attenuation of cardiac remodeling and other very amazing fucking things that otherwise are literally one of the main detriments of this sport and cause bodybuilders to drop dead in their fucking 40s is the significant cardiomegaly and other organ stress that happens as a result of exposure to super physiological amounts of androgens, as well as heightened body weights, of course, is obviously going to play a role as well. Very significant role, but at least, some of the drug burden, perhaps, this isn't to say that you should use this to then support your fucking drug use. I'm just saying from the TRT context, this is something at a more reasonable, benign fucking approach, you may be able to attenuate. Now, again, is there any risk to begin with that's even concerning? That's what we're going to get into with the meta-analysis. But I'm just saying from the fucking most risk-averse context, things like angiotensin receptor blockade, beta blockade, even in super physiological context, seem to be very promising for protecting bodybuilders. And that is something I think needs to be talked about more. And I'm glad to talk about it as much as I physically can and integrating it into my content, because I think that risk management is something that, is not well understood. A lot of individuals just think, oh, keep my estrogen in range. Oh, use a fucking, like a K-Ber if I'm on fucking tren or something. And it's like sometimes this shit will actually make you more unhealthy when you think you're managing your sides appropriately. When in reality, you should be looking at ancillaries like fucking angiotensin receptor blockers, beta blockers perhaps, depending on the situation. And there are other, adjunct ancillaries that I think are reasonable too, which we've talked about on this channel before. So anyways, getting into the meta-analysis of TRT dosages and the effect it could have on hypogonadal men versus a guy who's replacing their test, who's going to have the worst cardiovascular outcome. That's what this looked at specifically. Testosterone replacement therapy in hypogonadal men and myocardial infarction risk. So we're basically looking at heart attacks here. Systematic review and meta-analysis. TRT has become increasingly popular over the years, and there has been an increasing debate on whether TRT should be offered to older men due to its association with cardiovascular events. In this study, we evaluated the risk of myocardial infarction associated with TRT in hypogonadal men through a meta-analysis. We carried out the analysis by following the preferred reporting items for systematic review and meta-analyses, PRISMA guidelines, and conducted a literature search utilizing the following databases: Google Scholar, PubMed, ScienceDirect, Cochrane Library Trials, and clinicaltrials.gov. The search strategy resulted in a total of 782 articles after applying our inclusion and exclusion criteria. 6 observational studies and 2 randomized controlled trials were included for the analysis. A total of 55,806 hypogonadal men with baseline test levels less than 300 nanograms per milliliter were included in the analysis. Now, obviously my first concern about this meta-analysis is the fact that they're mentioning less than 300 nanograms per milliliter instead of deciliter. Like, what are we talking about? Like, is this fucking urine? Because this is not representative of what we see in blood. But anyways, that was concerning. But anyways, let's continue. Give them the benefit of the doubt. We're included in the analysis. The intervention group received testosterone in various routes, including transdermal patches, gels, mouth patches, testosterone injections, and deposits. The incidence of myocardial infarction, like the reason I mentioned this, by the way, is if you, I'm sure you're quite familiar if you're watching this video, but the reference range and the unit of measurement used to evaluate your blood concentration of testosterone is typically going to be nanograms per deciliter. If we have nanograms per milliliter, if you convert this to nanograms per deciliter, you're looking at a fucking astronomically higher number. Maybe not astronomically, but fucking so substantially higher. It's not even representative of a normal human level whatsoever. So that's why I'm concerned about the quality of the shit when this is being overlooked. So either I'm missing something obvious or this is incorrect. So I don't know. Somebody has an idea, let me know. But this is it's not very often you see very, very organized meta-analysis outcomes of something you have been wanting to see, an organized video assessing any available credible data on. So I figure this is worth touching on nonetheless. Hopefully this is a mild oversight or maybe a mild oversight on my part. Anyways, intervention group received testosterone various routes, transdermal patches, gels, mouth patches, test injections, and deposits. So obviously, again, one of the problems too is administration method. Is this going to be the outcomes in your lipid profile, the outcomes in your free androgen levels? These are going to be significantly different between route of administration. But again, we're taking what we can get here. There are going to be individuals who highly prefer a transdermal mode of delivery, using a cream instead of a fucking injection. We're using what we can though. Either way, these are individuals who are replacing tests using exogenous means, and it's representative of replacement therapy with a sustained level. Perhaps it's not going to be the same degree of SHBG lowering that you get with an injection, but there are injection users in this equation for, that's the one most of us are going to be interested in. The incidence of myocardial infarction was taken to be the primary measure outcomes. The pooled data from 8 studies showed MI incidence in 249 out of 11,720 in the TRT group and 1,420 out of the 33,086 in the control group. So we have 2.1% in the TRT group, 4.3% in control. The pooled OD showed no statistically significant association of TRT and MI compared to the control group. So as you go down throughout the thing, you can see the records they scrolled through, all the different things they've compiled, the pooled data, all the different outcomes and whatnots, all summarized. And by the end, you get to the conclusion they found no statistically significant difference between the risk of MI and testosterone therapy in hypogonadal men compared to non-treated hypogonadal men. As there are no long-term prospective placebo-controlled trials to investigate the MI risks and benefits of testosterone therapy in men with hypogonadism, we do not believe that this finding provides definitive evidence for cardiovascular safety in the use of TRT in hypogonadal men. However, findings from this paper may aid doctors counseling hypogonadal men about the benefits and risks of TRT before initiating treatment. Moreover, our study warrants the need for more future RCTs measuring more specific parameters such as the duration of testosterone therapy, the methods of testosterone therapy, and the normalization of testosterone level in hypogonadal men with greater population size, which could produce more solid results, allowing more definitive conclusions to be made on this topic. So, obviously still good to reference nonetheless. At the least though, this I think would put a lot of guys at ease who otherwise, have had doctors in the past tell them TRT is gonna fuck up their heart, or they have, preconceived notions about, oh, I'm on steroids or whatever. It's a very, very nuanced and, taboo topic still, and it can bring a lot of hesitancy, as well as even when you're on the therapy, knowing you fucking need it, you could still be fucking worried. I know a lot of guys who are very worried about this and they still use it knowing that, thinking they might be at risk and they have no idea. I think at least this should help lend to the idea that hopefully there is no enhanced risk in individuals who actually medically warrant this shit. You would otherwise be worse off without TRT than you would be with TRT. It seems to be reinforced in this, or at least highly suggested. So here we have, again, the newly pooled data from 6 studies showed MI incidence in 226 out of 10,137, 2.2% in the TRT group, and 969 out of 36,304, 2.7% in the control group. Pooled OD shows no statistical significance in the association between TRT and MI compared to the control. It appears that TRT does not increase the risk of MI as compared to the non-intervention group. Further RCTs with greater population size are needed that could produce more solid results, allowing more definitive conclusions to be made on this topic. So at the very least, very, very, comforting for guys on TRT to not see some fucking ridiculously higher number than the control group. When you see hypogonadal men not having, there are individuals who will be out there that say you would be better off being hypogonadal than being on TRT, and any kind of steroids is going to fuck up your heart. So again, obviously this notion sort of bleeds into the therapy, and even the patient, if they've been reassured by like a high quality doctor, they might have some of the preconceived notions from old doctors, or the lack of clinical data available out there, and reasonably enough actually make a logical conclusion that they're still fucking worried. I would understand why somebody would still be worried with the lack of sufficient data, as mentioned here. So again, at the very least, I thought this was worth bringing up because this is something that can probably make a lot of people who are doing this, who may be super ambiguous about, some people are convinced that, oh, this will probably take 5 to 10 years off my life, but at least the quality of life will be better. This at least lends to the credibility, lends to the idea that perhaps that may not be the case whatsoever, and you may not enhance your likelihood of a cardiovascular event, which is the main concern when it comes to testosterone administration, in my opinion. Obviously, there are downstream things like kidney stress from, blood pressure modulation issues, if you had that as an issue, but ideally that shouldn't be a problem. Enhanced hematology profile causing blood clots and shit. But ultimately, when we look at MI incidences, we do not see a significant difference, and it does not seem to be more problematic for TRT users than those who are not on TRT. So again, if you have a medically warranted need for this shit, I would not be fucking stressing. Just put it that way. I wouldn't be sitting there, worrying yourself and stressing yourself and actually causing cardiovascular disease potentially through stress, worried about if the thing you're using to get your quality of life to where, you can actually fucking function and have, high quality relationships, actually be able to perform athletically, fucking play with your kids outside and not be depressed and fucking bipolar and shit. That kind of thing, being able to treat that and know that at least with a relatively, certainty, some certainty at least, that you're not increasing your risk of heart attack. Quite nice to know in my opinion. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. All the comments help the algorithm. They're much appreciated. Like, subscribe, check out my blog, moreplacemoredates.com. Follow me on Instagram at moreplacemoredates. Facebook, Snapchat, Twitter, TikTok, Apple Podcasts. If you want to support the channel, you can check out anything I'm associated with in the video description below. My TRT clinic, all telemedicine from the comfort of your own home. Get high quality oversight from doctors who actually understand this kind of stuff, actually understand what kind of diagnostics you should be getting and how to interpret those and actually educate you, the patient, about what they mean. Because most doctors, frankly, at a lot of these HRT clinics simply function as a means of prescribing TRT, being a testosterone mill, prescribing test, HCG and anastrozole, cookie cutter scripts to make a markup on medications, get you out the door and get the next fucking guy in the door, and do the same thing over and over again. That is not what we do. We pride ourselves on the high quality education of our patients, the medical oversight, the diagnostics, elaborate diagnostics, and very cost effective labs too. If you want to make your own customized panel, we offer like add your own fucking lipids for like single digit dollar amounts. We have add a sensitive assay estradiol. We're not forcing you to get some massive pre-designed panel to get what you want. And our panels that are pre-designed are fucking cost effective as hell compared to the competitors. And we actually know what you should be getting based on the most cutting edge literature. Things like LP(a), how to actually assess your lipids properly rather than just get a fucking base overview, like generalized HDL, LDL, total cholesterol, triglycerides, HDL fucking ratio. Like this kind of shit is so primitive at this point, and there are so many things that are far more important to be looking at above and beyond that. Now again, obviously from a cost-effective standpoint, a lot of these primary biomarkers are great to still have. Like I'm not saying you shouldn't be getting them, but above and beyond that, getting your inflammation checked, getting insulin resistance markers checked, getting elaborate, tumor precursor fucking markers checked. Shit like that is very, very important and often goes overlooked, or is not even just overlooked, just not even fucking known about by a lot of clinics. And this is why it's so critical that you get a doctor in your camp that is actually looking out for you and knows what to fucking look out for in the first place. Like not having a high quality doctor for years fucking burdened me so much, having to go beg for a fucking lipid panel from some shitty Canadian doctor pissed me off to no end. Like it's fucking baffling dealing with that shit. So anyways, like it literally infuriates me even talking about it. So you can understand my passion when I talk about the importance of getting a fucking high quality doctor who will actually order the labs you need and knows how to interpret them. Doesn't just give you them and says like, go figure it out. And they'll work with you on an individualized protocol that is based on your actual needs, your imbalances, your deficiencies, regardless if it's pharmacology involving or not. They actually understand that some people want to stay natural and will work with you through lifestyle intervention, dietary manipulation, etc. We do it all. We're turnkey for optimization in all aspects, not just to TRT, but to anything health, longevity, vitality related. So check us out. Cannot be overstated enough the importance of getting a high quality doctor. As well, Gorilla Mind nootropic formulas, Gorilla Mode pre-workout formulas designed myself from scratch. My recommended diet model for gaining muscle and sports performance, whilst being mindful of micronutrient intake, obviously having the proper substrate for hormonal precursors, absolutely fucking critical, and sometimes overlooked by guys who think they may need TRT and maybe you just are deficient as fuck in a lot of basic things. This is why having a high quality diet model is so important too, and this diet makes it idiot proof to hitting all your micros and your macros, whilst being mindful of gut health, sleep hygiene, sports performance, electrolyte intake, thyroid health, a lot of things that go overlooked by your traditional cookie cutter influencers who sell fucking ebooks on Instagram about how to hit your protein whilst doing if it fits your macros bullshit. Anything else I'm associated with, it is all in the video description below. Thank you guys for watching. Talk to you soon.